One of the few guarantees in college football each and every year is that there are going to be coaches on the hot seat. There is always the next big coaching name and the next great coaching fallout, and in today's video, I want to talk about 10 coaches who are on the hot seat going into the 2025 college football season, who they are, how they've done, and if they have a path to saving their job. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could do next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about 10 coaches on the hot seat for 2025. Okay, so the first guy I want to talk about is Arizona football head coach Brent Brennan. Normally, you're not on the hot seat in year 2, but in my opinion, he absolutely has to win this year or else he could be sent out the door. After losing Jedd Fisch, they would decide to hire Brent Brennan away from San Jose State, who went 34-48 in 7 years at San Jose State. He inherited a super talented roster with guys like Noah Fifita, Tetairoa McMillan, and Tacario Davis, and managed to go 4-8 with a 2-7 mark in the conference. It was an absolute disaster of a season, and going into 2025, he absolutely has to get Arizona back on track, or else people are already going to give up on him. Luckily, they play 2 terrible non-conference teams in Hawaii and Weber State, but after that, they get a healthy dose of 10 Big 12 teams, and we'll see if Brennan can right the ship. Our next guy we're to talk about is Arkansas football coach Sam Pitman. After a couple of disastrous hires in the mid-2010s, it looked like the Razorbacks finally got their guy in 2020 when they hired Sam Pitman. He was an offensive line coach for quite some time and eventually took the job at Arkansas in 2020, and they had a really solid start. They would break out and go 9-4 in 2021, but ever since then it has been a slow death. They only won 7 games in 2022, 7 in 2024, and they even missed a bowl game altogether back in 2023. To be fair, Pitman is 3-0 in bowl games so far, but Arkansas has just not been able to take that next step. Luckily, they returned one of the more interesting quarterbacks in the country in Taylon Green, but like Arizona, it's a tough schedule. Besides Alabama A&M and Arkansas State, and then their other out-of-conference game will be on the road against Memphis, and that one honestly might be pretty tricky. Sam Pitman needs to start out the season strong, or there's a chance he could be fired by the end of it. Our third coach we're to talk about tonight is Hugh Freeze out of Auburn. Everybody knows Hugh Freeze at this point. He was one of the most interesting coaches of the mid-2010s as he helped rebuild Ole Miss, then went to Liberty, had an interesting scandal between that, and is now back at Auburn. The Tigers have been desperate for some wins, and so far in his 2 years, Hugh is 11-14. The Tigers went 6-7 in year 1, but then ended up losing the Music City Bowl. Last year, the Tigers then went 5-7, but ended up going 2-6 in the SEC. It was a pretty bad year for them, and outside of one big upset, Auburn has been pretty boring. Hugh has not been able to get things going, and at a school like Auburn, they expect to win, they expect to compete with Bama, and they expect to win national championships. Hugh Freeze has to hope that things get better, as they have a couple of big names like Cam Coleman at the receiver and Jackson Arnold at quarterback, but I don't know how it'll all play out. In the non-con, they play South Alabama and Ball State, they travel on the road to Baylor, they get Mercer, and then they get 8 SEC teams. We'll see how they do this year, but Hugh Freeze absolutely has to win. At number 4, we will have Brent Pry, the head coach at Virginia Tech. A couple of years ago, this was seen as a questionable hire, as Brent Pry was a big-time defensive coordinator at Penn State and had sort of been a James Franklin disciple. He ended up taking the Virginia Tech job back in 2022, and the Hokies went 3-8 in year 1. In year 2, they ended up having a tough start, but would win a couple of games towards the end of the year and get a bowl victory. It looked like Virginia Tech was in the right spot, but then they had a disastrous start to the 2024 season, and they ended up going 6-7 with another bowl loss. Pry is now 16-21 in 3 years, and all of a sudden finds himself on the hot seat. A year ago, it looked like he was one of the better young coaches in the country, and now I think he's in a spot where he has to win 7 or more games this year, or he may not get renewed. I still have some faith in Brent Pry, and Virginia Tech has a semi-difficult schedule as they have to play both South Carolina and Vanderbilt in the non-con, and then get Old Dominion and 8 other ACC games. We'll see how they do. Talk about a move that, in my opinion, did not make a lot of sense. It was when Cincinnati went out and hired Scott Satderfield a couple of years ago. Satderfield has been rising throughout the coaching ranks for quite some time, as he was pretty much at Appalachian State his whole life. He played quarterback there and ended up becoming the head coach in 2013 and was really good there. He won 51 games in 5 years at the Mountaineers, and that was good enough for him to take the head coaching job at Louisville when it opened up in 2019. In his 4 years there, Satderfield never won more than 8 games, but he did make 3 bowls in 4 seasons and went 25-24. After Luke Fickle took the Wisconsin job, he would end up taking the job at Cincinnati and help them go off to the Big 12. Unfortunately, in his first 2 years, Cincinnati has yet to make a bowl game, and Satderfield is 8-16. I mean, Cincinnati made the college football playoff a couple of years ago, so expectations are high, and Satderfield better make a bowl game this year, and if he doesn't, I literally think he will get fired. One coach who I feel like is always on the hot seat is Cal head coach Justin Wilcox. To be fair, he does have one of the most difficult jobs in college football, as Cal Berkeley has not made things easy on him, but going back in time, he was a huge name while at both USC and Wisconsin, and he took over at Cal all the way back in 2017. His best season at Cal would end up coming back in 2019, as the team went 8-5, but besides that, they've either missed a bowl or been below 500. So far in nearly a decade, Wilcox has gone 42-50 at Cal. Sure, he's been close to 500, but the team has just not been very good, and they've only made 4 bowl games. Things also don't look much better this year, as Cal pretty much lost all of their talented players to the portal, made a disastrous hire in Brian Harsin, and there's sort of a mass exodus going on there. Their move to the ACC makes things challenging for them as well, and I don't know how Justin Wilcox honestly makes it out alive. The Golden Bears have a unique schedule, as they will play Oregon State, Minnesota, and San Diego State in the non-con, and there's a chance they could lose all 3 of those games. Their only win of the season might come against Texas Southern, or maybe they can beat Stanford late in the year, but I'm not picking Cal to win many games, and they're putting all their faith into Devin Brown. We talked about Scott Satterfield over at Cincinnati a couple of minutes ago, and now we're going to talk about the guy he replaced, Luke Fickle. Maybe he isn't on the hot seat, but in my opinion, he really should be. Fickle has been rising through the coaching ranks for quite some time, as he played at Ohio State, and coached there pretty much all the way until 2017. He took the head coaching job at Cincinnati and won big while he was there. Fickle went 57-18 in 6 years in Cincinnati and actually got them to the college football playoff. Honestly, that is absolutely absurd when you think about it, and after the 2022 season, he took the job at Wisconsin. In his first year, the team went 7-6, and then last year they missed a bowl game for the first time in forever. You do not fail to make bowl games at Wisconsin if you want to keep your head coaching job, and it still seems he doesn't really have an identity. It seems like it's a mix of old Wisconsin and a little bit of what he did at Cincinnati, but he needs to win this year. He ended up bringing in 2 transfer quarterbacks in Danny O'Neal and Billy Edwards, and hopefully one of them works out. In the non-conference, they end up playing Miami of Ohio and Middle Tennessee State before a road game against Bama. They play 10 high-quality opponents this year, and man, you could probably argue they have one of the toughest schedules in all of college football, and we'll see if Fickle can make it out of it. We have 3 more coaches to talk about, and the first one is going to be Lincoln Riley at USC. If you'd have told me that Lincoln Riley would be on the hot seat a couple of years ago, I would have called you crazy. After playing at Texas Tech, Riley rose through the ranks and ended up becoming the head coach at Oklahoma back in 2017. He was incredible while he was there, as he won 12 games in 3 straight seasons, and in total went 55-10. There was multiple college football playoff appearances, multiple Heisman winners, and he had everything going for him. He then decided to take the USC job, which ultimately I think screwed him. He brought Caleb Williams with him in 2022, and the team went 11-3, but they ended up losing in the Cotton Bowl to Tulane, and it just sort of didn't feel right. It felt like this was not a good fit, and then in 2023 with Williams returning, the team went 8-5, and then this past season they went 7-6. Sure, they won the Las Vegas Bowl at the end of the year, but USC better bounce back in 2025. For someone who used to develop Heisman-level quarterbacks, neither Miller Moss or Jaden Mayava could get things going last year, and Lincoln is going all in on Jaden this season. You'd think he'd be able to get whatever quarterback in the portal he wants, but instead, he's going to rely on either Mayava or a true freshman starter in Husan Longstreet, and then USC also has an interesting schedule, but honestly not the worst in the Big Ten, but Lincoln honestly I think needs to win 9 or 10 games, or else there's a real chance that he could get fired. For our second to last guy, we're to talk about head coach Mike Norvell over at Florida State. The Seminoles were riding high back in 2023, but that was not new for Mike. He quickly rose up the coaching ranks and ended up becoming a big name while he was at Arizona State, and then he took the Memphis job back in 2016. At a team that was pretty historically terrible, Norvell was really good after Justin Fuente, going 38-15 with 4 straight bowl appearances and a 12-1 record back in 2019. Norvell was arguably the top coach of that cycle and took the Florida State job. Yes, it was rough his first 2 seasons, but then he won back-to-back seasons of 10-plus games in 2022 and 2023, and they should have gone to the college football playoff in 2023. Unfortunately, that Jordan Travis stuff was just absolutely devastating, and then this past season, they whiffed. DJ Uiagalelei was terrible, their portal class was horrible, and they won 2 games. Norvell better righten the ship in 2025, or there's a real chance that he could also get fired. He's banking on Thomas Castellanos being his big-time quarterback, who I personally don't think is all that good, but luckily in the non-conference, they will get a chance to have 2 easy wins in Kent State and East Texas A&M, but they also have to play Alabama. They've been talking a lot of smack to the Crimson Tide, so I think there's a real chance that Alabama goes out there and just absolutely kills Florida State in week 1, the season goes astray, and Norvell ends up getting fired. I personally like Coach Norvell and hope he figures it out, but there's a chance this could be his last season down in Tallahassee. Our next guy is going to be Oklahoma head coach Brent Venables. He was considered one of the safest hires after spending a long time at Clemson, as he was a defensive coordinator under Dabo Swinney, and it looked like he would just sort of figure it out at Oklahoma. Unfortunately, in his 3 seasons in Norman, Venables has gone 22-17, and they've also lost 3 bowl games. They've only been ranked in 1 of the 3 seasons, and they've also only finished with a winning record once. Venables absolutely has to win in 2025, as they brought in John Mateer, Jaden Ott, and returned some key pieces, so I think Venables needs to at least win 8 games if he wants to keep his job. We'll see though. I know I said I would do 10 coaches, but I wanted to do sort of an honorable mention for the 11th, as a couple of years ago, UAB decided to hire Trent Dilfer to be the head coach. After playing in the NFL for quite some time, he quickly got into coaching back in 2019, and then ended up taking the UAB job back in 2023. So far, Dilfer sort of had it tough, as he has not been able to adjust, and the team has gone 7-17 in 2 seasons. Usually, 3 straight losing seasons is enough to get you canned, so if he doesn't figure it out, or at least make serious improvement in 2025, I think Dilfer will also be out of a job. But yeah, today we talked about some coaches who are on the hot seat, and let me know your thoughts. Do you think these coaches deserve to get fired? Who's another name that should have been on the list? And what topic should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.